bright and early. I love coffee. Now, if you can tell what corner I'm sitting in, and you may be able to guess why I brought you all here today. It has been since August, or like early September, since I last posted a video like this. It is now finally time for another book review. I know what I said, I know what I did. I know I said, oh, we're gonna do this at the end of every month. September came, I only read one book the entirety of September because we were traveling. I finished a book and then I started another, and then like I didn't even finish that book. And then we came back, October came around. I started to read more, but then by the end of the month, I didn't feel like I had enough to talk about. And then this November, I've been going ham with the reading. Let's dive into it, shall we? So basically, I started off September with JeanetteMcCurdy's I'm Glad My Mom Died. I don't typically read biographies, autobiographies, or anything like that just because I'm a fiction girly, so I haven't really ventured into that part of books just yet. But I read JeanetteMcCurdy's, and it was just as good as it was heartbreaking. It's really interesting because, I mean, we all pretty much grew up with iCarly, and I mean, Nickelodeon was so prominent like in our childhood, and just seeing the dynamic that she had with her mom and how heartbreaking that probably was after the realization of spending her whole life serving this one woman, which I fully understand. It's a really heartbreaking thing, but to see the growth that she's come from it, and like putting all this energy that could have held her, kind of somewhat destroyed her too. Like, it was her entire life that wasn't one her own. Like, being a child star on Nickelodeon didn't give her a lot of opportunity for after the fact, just because people weren't taking her seriously. When she tried to be taken seriously, they brushed her off, and her mom wasn't thinking bigger picture and just ended up digging her a hole. And the way that Jeanette has been able to climb out of that hole and shed light and truth on her life, I hope that she genuinely feels heard. This book made me sad. I felt empathetic. I was angry at times, and it was just good to know, I guess. I just feel really bad that she went through all of that. It's very uncomfortable and hard, and I mean, listen, mommy issues are a force to be reckoned with. As you can tell, I'm really passionate about it. It was really good. So 10 out of 10 for this one. I love coffee. The next we got up, The Paper Palace by Miss Miranda Cowley Heller. This book, it was hard. It was so hard because I did really enjoy this book. I really did. My first line that I say in this review is this book had me all over the place. And it did. It was so well written, but the main character, Elle, it goes over her lifespan over 50 years, and it goes over the details of one day. She ends up cheating on her husband. They talk about it in the first chapter, so don't worry, I'm not like really doing any spoilers. I guess spoiler warning for everything, because I'm gonna talk a little bit about it, but whatever, we'll get into it. Anyway, she cheats on her husband with her like lifelong best friend, Jonas, after 50 years, and like they go over like what those 50 years entailed and what bonded them, how they fell in love, how they were never together and why they were never together. And honestly, that's where my annoyance came in, because they'd known each other since they were kids. Jonas never was shy to say that he wasn't in love with her. They did have a traumatic experience together. I won't spoil that just so you guys can read it, but there was an experience that they experienced together that was trauma bonded, even though he was in love with her before that. But after the fact, like, it's a big reason as to why she put so much, like, she didn't try for him, she didn't let him back in. And whenever they had a final moment where she could leave someone for him before anything got too serious, she didn't take it. So I was feeling frustrated because of all the, like, she ignored her happiness. I think she knew what she was doing, and I don't think that she wanted to let herself be happy because she felt like she didn't deserve it because of what they went through together, and she thought it would always be weird until they're 50 years old, married, she has kids, they're all on vacation, and she's like, fuck it, tonight's the night. I felt so passionately about it because I was frustrated, and I was mad because I was rooting for Jonas, and he's not, her husband's name is Peter. I was frustrated. I really did enjoy it though. It was really well written. I was like on the edge of my seat at sometimes. Trigger warning, there are talks of domestic abuse, like sexual assault, things of that sort. For me, when I read a book, sometimes I just want everything to like, whenever I start feeling a certain type of way, whether it's anxiety, whether it's anger, whether it's, I'm like, I don't want it to be there, but a good book, I feel like, has a good range of all of those emotions. You should be gawking at a page from time to time. You should be mad at the protagonist sometimes. Not all protagonists need to be good. I don't know, I was all over the place with this one because I was happy, I was sad, I was mad, I was annoyed, I was vexed, I was like annoyed that I wanted them to be together, but she had a wife, and a husband, and whatever. I could go on forever about this book, but 10 out of 10. I think that this was definitely like a really great book. And also, anytime Reese Witherspoon is on the back of any book, just buy it. You should just buy it. Cloud Cuckoo Land by Anthony Dewar. It was a Pulitzer Prize winner book. So I'm just realizing right now that this book, Cloud Cuckoo Land, is not a Pulitzer Prize winner, but the author wrote a book called All the Lights We Cannot See, which was a Pulitzer Prize winner. And I got befuddled. But anyway, carry on. So that's my immediate thought. I was like, okay, I read the back. This could be a little bit more challenging for my brain. I love reading out of chronological time order books for some reason, because this book talks about one mythological story, and basically it's talked about in the span of over 4 different time periods with all different characters. And the thing about the story is that it's pretty taboo to talk about for some reason. Like, people, what are you doing? People don't necessarily like this book, like a lot of people, because of what it encourages people to do. So like, it goes over 2 characters in Constantinople in the 1400s, goes over the origin of one character in like the 1960s, and then another character in the 1980s, and then it goes over their present characters in 2020, and then it goes over one character in the post-apocalyptic dystopian spaceship in space, and they all have one thing in common, which is this book. And now I got 221 pages into this book, and I was just like, when am I gonna get to the point of the story? I don't know what the point is. I don't know how it's all gonna wrap up together. Maybe one day I will. Right now is not that time, because it started losing my interest, and I bet it is a good book. I feel as though I should probably push through at some point, but I really just wanted to read something else. I had only read 2 books, and I was annoyed with myself because I wanted to finish this book, but I really couldn't bring myself to any longer. I wanted to read something that I wasn't frustrated with. There's just a lot of different things going on that my brain is not wanting to like think, because when I read, it's like an escape for me. I'm not trying to think more as I read, hence why I don't really read philosophical self-help. I didn't even finish Untethered Soul, still haven't finished it. I mean, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a whatever that book is. I didn't finish it either. I think you guys are gonna be excited about this one just because it's Colleen Hoover. It starts, oh my god, I just scared MB. It starts with us. Woo! It's Colleen. Now it starts with us. I had to read this just because I read It Ends With Us. Obviously I needed to read this one just because everyone's going crazy about it. I didn't have high expectations just because I'm not a huge Colleen Hoover fan anymore. I can't deny it. I know you guys saw it too. I was super hype about Colleen Hoover in the beginning. I think it was just because I was reading her books so fast. I was really enjoying it. I was like, holy wow, this is making me feel things. I like this book. Like, it's super easy to read. I can read this in a day. And then I realized the writing is just like very easy to digest. There's like not a lot of complexity to it. Not trying to be mean. I think it was after I read 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo that I was like, right, I'm gonna remember that. Miss Taylor Jenkins Reid, you know how much I love you. In an admirable way, not in a weird, creepy way, I promise. No, but I read It Starts With Us, and you know, it was fine. Like, there are parts that made me cringe, there was parts that I'm happy the way it ended, there are parts that I was not really feeling anything about, you know? It just kind of reminded me of how I read Ugly Love. I didn't feel a lot, and I was a little weirded out at some points because I was bored. I think I felt some boredom with this, but it was cute. Like, it was like, I'm happy the way it ended. Would I suggest reading this book over other books? No. I would give it like a 5.5 out of 10. Just because I'm very impartial to it. I'm like a good half and half. Now, I'm so happy I followed up with this book. The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides? Megaloma? I don't know how to say it. I don't want to pronounce it wrong. Hold on, coffee break. Anyway, holy wow. Wow, this was such a roller coaster of a thriller and I loved it. I have not read a thriller, really, like a real thriller, in a while. I got a Stephen King book in the airport one time called like When It Bleeds or something. And I started reading it, couldn't really get into it that much and like it didn't hold my attention. Sorry, my ringer's on. And wowza! So basically the concept of this book, if you do not know, is that an artist killed her husband, and ever since the day that they found her in the same house as him with him tied to a chair, a gun on the floor and him shot in the face, ever since that day she was silent. They put her in like a criminal ward and she stayed silent. She's done some crazy brazen attacks, and there is a psychiatrist who's really set on studying her, really cares about her, like speaking her truth and like wanting to break her silence. It just like goes over the tale of like what his work with her is like, what his work at home is like. It's crazy because the entire time I'm thinking to myself, this is a thriller novel. You need to figure out what the plot twist is going to be. Where is it going to be? Who is it going to partake with? What are they going to do? But what actually happened is not what I was thinking at all. And I was delightfully surprised. It was such a great read. So well written. I love this book. It has over 1 million like reviews on Goodreads. Everyone go follow it's Emma quote, or what is it called? The things, the quote marks, quotations, right? Okay, Emma quotation books quotation. I will accept everyone because it's books and I freaking love writing reviews about the books after I read them. But yeah, this was a great read. Everyone should read this. 15 million out of 10 automatically. I have to talk to you about these two, but first this one. Miss Tracy Wolf. You know my CRAVE series. It's all about, you can't really see them, but they're in here, the rest of the 4 other books. CRAVE was the first folklore series. I never read Twilight. The most I ever read to like the teenage genre was literally whenever it was like Hunger Games, Divergent, Maze Runner, Legend, like all of those books. I never read like a vampire, like I never read anything like that. And then CRAVE came along and the first book, really into it. Won't lie, you guys have heard my other reviews, like I loved the books, I really did. Now I won't lie though, I didn't know there were better books. It was kind of when I read Colleen Hoover and I didn't know. I thought it was good writing because I didn't know that there were better books that do the same thing as that book. Yeah, that's kind of what happened with CRAVE. I read this book and there are times where I read the other books and I've cringed like a little bit. Like I'll cringe like at least every other chapter. And I mean, listen, Miss Tracy, your chapter names are really freaking out of pocket. Let me give you an example. The first one I pull up is Talk Dirty to Me, but that's not even the bad ones. Like, you know, every little thing every little thing he does is not magic. Good one. This is the good one. I do like a good cup of Earl Grey. Tracy. Head space, talk space, give me some space. In one head and out the other. Burning down the louse, eat, drink, and be wary. From one blink to the next. Like next. I just wanted to prove my point that they're bad chapters. That's how they all are. All the chapter names are not good. They're like funny, haha. Sometimes. But then my breaking point, they're on top of the roof. It's Hudson, Grace. She's trying to get Hudson to dance with her and she's like, Hudson, be like Nike and just do it. When I read that line, I wanted to rip my eyeballs out because I have had it up to here, Grace. You guys are so pick me. It's so bad sometimes. Because I get it. I get what you're trying to do, Miss Tracy. And I've been a big supporter for a long time. And then I read this book and it was kind of showing in the past few books because I see what you're trying to do here. I see what you're trying to say. You want this healthy relationship, but she recognizes and reverberates all of the healthy things. I guess you could say like communication, like the way he acts, the way he cares for her, like the way that you write about it instead of actually just like showing it and experiencing it and let it be interpreted. It's just kind of annoying. Like, because she'll be like, my Hudson, the one who's never betrayed, but you do that all the time instead of him like just actually showing it, because he does show it, but then it's more talking than it is showing. Let me go over what's inside the book though. I am happy to know that what happened in those 5 months that Hudson and Grace were interlocked in their little gargoyle form, because you remember in the end of the first book, I believe, Hudson is coming out after they just killed Leah for fucking trying to bring him back to life. He comes back with a sword. Grace jumps in, touches him. They turn into gargoyles. They're gargoyles for 5 months. They go over what happened in those 5 months. I do like what Tracy did with that concept of like what happened in those 5 months. The next book I read, A Court of Thorns and Roses. I literally could throw this book at the camera. I love it so much. Miss Sarah J. Maas. Give her a round of applause. Wow, you really changed my whole perception of how these books can be written, because what she said and what she said were the same thing, but the delivery on this was way better. And also, Miss Tracy, I don't know, maybe, okay, you guys let me know if this is a thing that happens in the book world. I guess it would, because you know how many different variations there are of Cinderella. This book is a freaking almost an exact replica of this series so far in the first 2 books. There are things that have happened in here, concepts, plot lines, places, literally people, like character development that resemble so many things in the CRAVE series. I don't know, but this, A Court of Thorns and Roses, I freaking loved this book. So good. Didn't make me cringe. I read this book. Oh, sorry, my hair is not, I don't know what my hair is doing. Anyway, I loved this book so freaking much. I really enjoyed it. I want to live inside this book, and it gets even better. But first I have to take a quick buffer from this book going to my next that I read after in like literally 2 days. Miss TJR! Miss Taylor Jenkins Reid! You know I have to put you in here somewhere, Miss Taylor. I know I get so hyped whenever I talk about her, but it's just so hard. Since I have decided that she is like an author that I really love and admire, I have decided upon myself to make sure I read every single one of her books. That's what we're doing. This is my 4th Taylor Jenkins Reid book. I went to a bookstore and I was looking for Carrie Soto is back because I want to read that one, and then there's another one. But anyway, this is the only book that they had besides like Daisy Jones and the Six, but I already read that and I have it. Such an amazing book. So, and this book was published in 2015, so I was thinking, oh my gosh, this is one of her earlier books. One, she stuck so well. Like, I have to read the other 2, but she has this affinity of writing books that are kind of out of a time order, and this goes over the life of Hannah Martin. Not her life, but a few moments of her life that lead up to one night's decision where she either chooses to stay out or she chooses to go home, and it basically goes over what would happen if she chose either one. So like each chapter flips back and forth from one timeline to the other of like those decisions and how it ended up for her. I did really like it. It was really cute. It was really sweet. It was just something very lighthearted and like nice to read. It wasn't crazy heavy, but it wasn't not heavy enough. Like there was definitely things in there that made me but there were also things that made me really happy, and it was just a really enjoyable read. Another cool thing about this is that Taylor Jenkins Reid has come so far in her way of writing. She's gotten way more descriptive. She has gotten way more precise into her writing. Like her specifics are so insane. Like she is super descriptive. I love how she uses LA. I think that's another reason why I love her so much, is because as someone who lives in Los Angeles, like it's not a glamorous place. There's a lot of realities out here. I mean, anywhere that's just kind of, it's just nice to kind of romanticize places sometimes, because you can't live in that dramatization of where you live. With Taylor's books, most of them are set in LA, and it's just really nice to kind of escape what the realities are and like live in the minds of these characters with a romanticized version of Los Angeles, or as in Malibu. And I need to read Carrie Soto because I'm not sure. I'm assuming it's set in LA just because of the Malibu Rising where she comes in, but I could be completely wrong. It's nice. It's nice to romanticize where you live sometimes. Now I finished the second book, A Court of Mist and Fury, last night, and I just had to talk about it. Holy man, holy bitch, this I love this series because one, Why is she so good at dragging out, one, the sexual tension, two, character development is not as annoying as, sorry, Tracy, listen, no hate to you. No hate, but this one, the plot line, the plot twist, the character development, the scenery, this, like, the descriptions, the sexual tension, the actual development of their relationship, it literally was soul crushing. There were so many times where I just went, I loved reading this book. I already have the third book here. I'm gonna read it as soon as possible because holy heck. Because my other thing is I have the mating bond in here, which they have in here. No, I always feel a little weird whenever I read my mate. Don't touch my mate. Like, that makes me feel weird, but it's whatever. It's a concept of the book. I'm letting them do it. Love this book so much. I love the action in it. I love the descriptions. I just love everything about it. I'm so excited to, like, I'm gonna read every single book. I wanted to kind of do what I did in between these books is read another book, but now I, like, kind of don't know if I can do that because I have the third book. Let me grab my other 3 books to show you what I want to read next. Okay, I can't find the one I was looking for, but I am reading from this series. It's called A Court of Wings and Ruin. I think it's in my mailroom. But then I also have this another literary thriller. It's called Animal by Lisa Taddeo. One of my best friends read this book and said it was really good. Like, she read it super fast, so I'm gonna probably read this. And then I got this book. It's called Lessons in Chemistry. Kind of forgot what it was about. I read it, but I was like, yeah, but it's a part of the Good Morning America book club, so New York Times bestseller. Okay, how does that work? How does the New York Times bestseller list work? Like, how are you guys doing it so many times? Is it a weekly, a daily thing? Umbi, come here. Come here, do you want some love? Oh, hi. Just lay. Just lay. Anyway, I really missed this a lot, and I'm glad I refilmed because I feel as though I got my message across a lot more clear. I love talking to you guys. I love reading books literally more than anything in life, and I hope that I can read books to you all one day, honestly. He's so cute. I'm always interested in recommendations, so please leave in the comments below maybe books you've read and let me know what you thought about these books. If you've read them, I want to know your opinions. If you agree with me, if you disagree with me, if you had favorite parts and you hated other parts, like, I want to know. I want to know other good authors that you like. I want to be able to learn more from you guys because, oh, you just twisted. Rolled over. I just appreciate all the comments. I appreciate and love the support. Please leave a like, a comment, maybe a subscription, maybe hit that notification bell to know whenever I post any video or any book video. I really appreciate you guys. I love you all, and I hope you have a great rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, night, dusk, dawn, whatever time you're watching this. And yeah, I love you all. See you guys next time. Umbi says he loves you. Right, Umbi? Yeah. Okay, bye-bye.